President Davis, Jenny Wildcat had sent me a text a minute ago. She will not be able to attend the meeting.
President Davis, we are live.
Bob had to reconnect. I'm not sure. Oh, there he goes. Looks like he's unmuted now.
I think I'm almost there if I can figure this out. Yeah. All right. The host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. Okay. That must be Nick. Okay, Charlie. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. President.
At this time, we can call the meeting to order. Oh, we got 1 minute according to mine. Do you want to call it to order or?
Let's give another minute. We've got some people maybe are still trying to get joined in.
Okay.
Okay, what's the?
President Davis, it's 9 o'clock.
All right, Charlie, let's call this meeting to order.
Thank you. Welcome to the July 14th special meeting of the Wyoming Gaming Commission. The primary mission of the Wyoming Gaming Commission is the protection of the wagering public and the health, safety, and welfare of the participants in all lawful gaming and parimutuel activity. Individuals who wish to address the commission will be recognized and called upon by the president to speak. After the president has recognized you, please clearly state your name, the name of your organization you represent prior to addressing the commission. All comments, questions, and responses must flow through the president by addressing the president each time you speak. Additionally, if you would please identify yourself each time when you're speaking, so it ensures we get you on the minutes correctly. This procedure ensures an orderly flow of discussion during the commission meeting. All meetings of the governing body of the agency are public meetings open to the public except as otherwise provided pursuant to Wyoming Statute 164403A. This meeting is being held via Zoom and available to watch live via video streaming, which will be available by accessing the YouTube link. The commission may open, as stated, an executive session at any time. Inclusion on the agenda does not necessarily constitute a commission action. Kelly, are you on the line? Would you like to do the roll call? Or I can do it. Commissioner Davis, I'll do the roll call. President Davis. Thank you. Vice President Broussard. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cavello.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry. Thank you. Commissioner Ritholler. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cura.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wildcat is absent. Legislative Liaison, Senator Ogden Driscoll. Absent. Legislative Liaison Representative Newsom appears to be absent. Governor's Liaison Dan Schiffer. He's on there, I see. He hasn't. Can you hear us all right? He is on the call. I see him logged in. President Davis, we do have a quorum. Nick, you need to unmute President Davis. It looks like he does not have the ability to.
Everybody should be able to unmute themselves now. I can't unmute them.
Okay.
Yay.
There you go.
All right. At this time, Charlie, should we proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Charlie, I'm having some technical difficulties on this end. Can you lead us here?
Yes. Item 2, adoption of the agenda, commissioners. We would need a motion, discussion, and then a vote.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So move.
Okay, Commissioner Kura moved. Commissioner Cavello is muted and can't be unmuted. Is there a second? Troy's muted and can't be unmuted.
I think we have Commissioner Pacheco has seconded it.
Okay. Looks like Vice President Burchard, can you?
I think, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavello, okay. There is
Yes.
a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Is there any
signify by
discussion
saying aye.
first? President Davis, is there any discussion?
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing no discussion on the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay, with that, Charlie. Item number, I haven't.
Item, I can take it over from here, President Davis, if you don't mind. Item 3,
Okay.
disciplinary matters. Commissioners, as a, if you would look at your inbox in your computer, you should have just received just moments ago or about 15 minutes ago, the fully executed, or excuse me, the signed agreements from Casey Gage Greer and from Randy Greer that had been updated and made some corrections to those as asked to. So those just came in. Those are the copies that we'll be working with at this point. There's also in your packet a letter that we had received from the Greer's attorney. And that would be, I believe, at the end, towards the end of your packet that you would have received yesterday. I think at this point, I would turn this over. I believe the procedure would be to turn this over to Senior Assistant Attorney General Eric Eason. Up, he's able to unmute, and then potentially, well, I'll let Eric take it over from here.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. My name is Eric Easton. I'm a Senior Assistant Attorney General. I'm the assigned prosecuting attorney for the Gaming Commission. So we're here today, we're presenting 2 proposed settlement agreements for Randy and Gage Greer based on an incident that occurred August 1st, 2021 in Evanston, Wyoming at Wyoming Downs. I believe you've received updated copies of the settlement agreements, and I certainly apologize. It was my fault that the original agreements were confusing and that was cleared up by Mr. Kaler. Your board is fairly complicated in terms of how licensing it takes place. Some are continuing licenses, some are annual licenses, and I certainly did not reflect that and recognize that change. So I apologize for any confusion that has caused. The parties today are presenting a proposed settlement agreements to address those concerns of potential violations of the rules as a result of this incident on August 1st. And I don't know if you have any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward what the agreements provide for. The agreement with Randy Greer provides that a reprimand is issued, but that is stayed. And then if upon successful completion of that with no violations for a period of 2 years, then that reprimand does not take effect. The case of Gage is a little more serious, and that provides that no license will be issued for a period of 3 years and a $3,000 fine. Just to make it clear, that fine does not go to the Gaming Commission, it goes to the Uinta County School District. So there is no reason why anyone would think that you're issuing a fine to benefit the commission itself. And I think that's all the background I have at this point, unless there are some specific questions. So thank you.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, Cactus.
Mr. President, Cactus Cavell here. Mr. Easton, my question to you is, along with the settlement to Mr. Gage Greer, do I read that includes his not being able to be in attendance for 3 years?
That is correct. It does provide that he cannot be in attendance at events. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there further questions? And with Randy Greer, there is just a reprimand that has been, is that, could you restate that, please? Mr. Easton?
He's muted again.
Sorry, there we got it cleaned up. I apologize. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
I would like you to describe Randy Greer. Could you go through that one more time, please?
Sure. What we're proposing there is a reprimand that be issued in that case. But that reprimand be immediately stayed, so it does not take effect. And then there were to be a 2-year probation. And if there is no violation of any gaming commission policies or rules, proven violations at that period of time, then that reprimand would actually not be issued, would actually go away. So similar in some cases to what you see with criminal cases where it's called the 301, where someone pleads guilty to a crime, but if they complete the probation, then no judgment is ever entered and it doesn't show up as a conviction.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Are there further questions from the commissioners?
I have none.
Commissioner Pacheco? Hearing no further questions, or at this point, Charlie's muted now too. You're
Okay,
live.
thank you. Thank you, Nick, for letting me. I don't know if Mr. Pacheco had a question or not. He was muted at one point there.
Mr. President, this is Dwayne. I don't have any questions regarding that issue itself. You said that something was sent out just recently, Charlie. Is that the signed copy that you're referring to?
Yes, you would have received about 40 minutes ago, maybe, the corrected version of the agreements signed by, I believe, both Gage and by Randy. So yes. And then additionally, you would have received yesterday the letter that was sent from Mr. White, the attorney for the Greers.
Okay, is there any other questions? I have a question for either for you, Charlie, or for Mike. What are our options here that we're considering?
Mike?
Mr. President. And so here today, Mr. Easton has presented and along with Charlie presented those two proposed settlement agreements, which would resolve the current matters pending before the commission. And so I think the recommendation is for the commission to accept those settlement agreements. And so there would need to be a motion, a second, any sort of discussion from the commission and potentially discussion from the public, and then a vote. And then once that happens, if in fact the settlement agreements are approved by the commission, then I think President Davis would sign off on each of those, and then the matters would then become final. The other option would be to reject, if you so choose, one or the other or both. And if that were the case, then they would proceed under your typical disciplinary hearing process. But the recommendation, I think, from the commission or from Charlie and his staff is to accept those.
Okay. So at this time then, Charlie, if I'm understanding everything correctly, we need a motion.
Yes, I would suggest an individual motion for item 3A and for item 3B. A motion, second, discussion, and vote.
Okay, Commissioner Cavella, you had your hand up.
Yes, Mr. President, I would move that we accept these recommended two different settlement agreements.
Troy, you have your hand up?
So
President Davis, just a point of order, if we could, please. The suggestion would be to move to accept each one of these individually.
Okay.
Or the motion would be individual.
Okay, Commissioner Cavello, you have the floor. You have a motion out there. Would you like to amend that to reflect that?
I would, yes, at this time, I would like to make a motion that we accept the settlement agreement of Gage, Greer.
Gage, Greer. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kura. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner Pacheco.
want to make sure that the agreement is that it's going to be 3 years, correct? And he's not allowed to go to the races for 3 years. Is that correct?
Charlie? The question, Charlie, did you hear it?
Yes, Mr. Easton, can you respond to that for Commissioner Pacheco?
Yes, thank you. So if you look at the agreement itself on the order under, this is on page 5 of 7. The order, his license is suspended for a period of 3 years. Did he pay a fine of $3,000? Respondent is ruled offside of any live racing events in Wyoming during the term of this suspension.
So those are just live horse races. The historic is still available, correct?
Right, correct. I should have gone on, the offsite requirement does not apply to any offsite gaming facilities. So.
Thank you.
You bet.
Troy, you have your hand up?
last meeting, I think we discussed a commission investigation into the matter. Was that finalized and sent out?
Charlie, can you
I'm the only one
respond?
that hasn't read that.
In your packet, you have all of the documents have been provided to you in your packet. The commission's investigation reports, Uinta County investigation reports. Did I miss anything, Mr. Eason?
I think there's also copies of some of the criminal charges and the judgment itself. So that was the investigation.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner
Yeah.
Broussard?
I'm not sure which email that was. I didn't read it, but I feel ill-equipped right now.
Uh-oh.
That would have been in your packet that was sent to you, mailed to you. It was also in the email packet that went out again this morning and also last week in an email. President Davis, we do have a motion on the floor in a second.
And
Discussion.
we're in discussion. I see, are there any other questions from the commissioners? I see we have a hand on George. Is that correct? Or,
President Davis, Mr. White had his hand up a little bit ago, and I think I was able to work out the technical aspects so people can unmute themselves now as well.
okay. But this time, Mr. White,
I don't have any discussion points I'd recommend. I mean, I'm not a member, but I'd recommend approving as submitted.
okay, is there any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
this is Dwayne.
Okay, Dwayne.
So there's an email, and I just want to make sure that we're not overlooking this email from Britta Taylor.
Yes.
Britta Taylor. I don't know if this is a place to talk about it, but there's another. She had a question, and I know it's off topic, but I just want to make sure that this isn't the appropriate place to talk about it, or is that a separate issue?
Mr. Taylor, what do you think? Is that pertinent because it came in on a separate email, not in our packet?
Which, and my apologies, which email is that one?
It's the email that's dated Wednesday, July 13th at 12:56 p.m.
I had a chance to review that earlier, but it was not in our packet.
No, it was set out Wednesday to all of us.
Mr. President, if you bear with me for one moment, I'll take a look and see if I can find that email.
Okay, we still have, Nick, I still have a hand up on, oh, maybe it's just a hand on my screen. I don't.
President Davis, it's Mr. Joyce. He has his hand up.
Okay, Eugene, if you would like a comment, I go, oh, there you are up there. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. My comment would be that with this whole settlement issue, that I believe, unless somebody can prove me wrong, that the normal operations of the commission has been subverted here. There has been no hearing on this incident. There has been, I don't even know if there was a steward's hearing. You know, the normal process that I would tell you from my 40 years experience in horse racing is that when an incident like this occurs in a secured area under the auspices of the gaming commission, the barn area, that this is something that goes before the stewards, and the stewards make a ruling. And the only case I would point out to you is a similar, well, it was an assault, the similarity ends there, but with a licensee attacking another licensee, that was adjudicated by the stewards within a week. And then within months, the commission handed down a punishment for that individual. And so I think there's a rush to, well, it hasn't been a rush to judgment. It's been over a year since this incident has happened. And I would tell you that In my experience, it's one of the most egregious cases I've ever heard of in my years in the horse racing industry. Not only do you have a license, you have a permittee who instigated an attack on a horse trainer, a licensee. Now, Randy Greer didn't throw a punch, but he drove his son over there, told him go get him, stood over him, didn't try to stop the fight, egged him on to beat up a trainer, which resulted in him being knocked unconscious and his wife breaking his arm. And, you know, these people have been, you know, injured and harmed, and to sweep this kind of under rug for a reprimand on Mr. Greer, I will tell you, just doesn't sound fair. This was his actions. This is what he did. He instigated this. I don't care if he didn't throw a punch, but a permittee doing this, you know, deserves some kind of punishment. This is my personal opinion. And with that, if the commission has any questions, I'll quit talking here.
Thank you, Eugene. I think you've got a little confused. Right now we have, I guess I would call it B, the one that we're dealing with right at this moment in this motion is with Gage Greer.
Correct, Mr. President. And regarding Gage, I would say it needs to go through the normal commission process and not working out a settlement with attorneys prior to a proper hearing.
Commissioner Broussard.
I have a question for Charlie. Why did we not have the normal commission process? I feel like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse personally. I know very little, and I'd like to have had some details explained before I make a decision, a judgment on this.
And thank you, President Davis, Vice President Broussard. Thank you for the question. You know, this is part of the process that we have at different times. This was because of the timing of this event was moved to the commission. We were waiting for the criminal actions to be completed. And so then at this point, so the question is for you all, either we accept the agreements or we do not, and then it goes to the Office of Administrative Hearings, which is the normal process in a situation like this. So it's a pretty simple, either this works for you all. If there is concerns or issues, then you would vote no, and then we would go to the next step. I don't know if Mr. Kaler or Mr. Easton would probably be the best to maybe additionally respond to this.
Mr. Easton at this time.
President Davis, thank you very much. Yeah, you know, this is kind of a normal process you see with administrative hearings. This case is a little unusual. It happened near the end of the season, and the stewards went ahead and made a recommendation that this go directly to the commission instead of having a stewards hearing and then going to the commission. Again, there were some criminal charges involved. We waited till those were resolved, and those are a part of your packet, the judgment and sentence issued in that case. As far as working out a settlement, what we're proposing to do is we think the basic facts are available to you based on the documents that you have in front of you already. You've got the county investigative report, the deputy sheriff investigative report, and so forth. And you've got the judgment and that sort of thing. So it's our proposal as we put this together to go ahead and say to the commission, the basic facts are pretty clear, and we think this is a reasonable settlement of this matter. So that's why we proposed the 3-year suspension in this case and the $3,000 fine. And again, all these administrative cases with the state of Wyoming, almost every board has a process where you can submit settlement agreements. And again, these are proposed settlement agreements. The commission could certainly reject those. And then we would decide if we're going to bring those before the commission or bring those again, as Mr. Moore stated, Director Moore stated, through an OAH hearing. So this is just our, we're trying to save a little bit of time for the commission. we feel like you're informed on what's the background is, and we're proposing this as what we think is a reasonable settlement of this matter.
Are there any further questions?
Eugene Joyce has his hand up.
Well,
Also have-
Commissioner Barry is first.
President Davis, Mr. Easton, can we approve one of these settlement agreements and not the other?
Yes, Commissioner Berry, it's my impression that is correct, and Mr. Kaler can verify that, but I believe you can approve one, approve both, or approve neither.
Thank you.
Mr. President, yes, and Commissioner Barry, yes, these are going to be considered, or these are being considered separately. They would be separate actions, and so the commission can approve both, approve neither, approve one or the other. It's the commission's decision on this.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Commissioner Pacheco, Mike, did you find that email to address Commissioner Pacheco's concerns there?
And Mr. President, I do not know that I have that email. I've searched and I do not see it. If somebody can forward that to me, I can review it and then answer the question.
Whoa, where'd we go here? Okay, do we want to try and, where'd Commissioner Pacheco go? Oh, there you are. God, you're moving all around the screen here.
I just sent it to you, Mike.
As Mr. President, as did I sent it as well. I'm looking at, Mr. President, it looks like this case was adjudicated on March 23rd, and I feel like this is the first time we've seen it. Because then it went to the state, and then that was signed on June 30th. Is that normal, that course of action, that we wouldn't hear about it until it's signed on the 30th?
Charlie, you're nodding your head. Is that a
Yes,
yes?
that is normal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Mr. East has his hand up, I believe, again.
Mr. Easton, you have your hand up?
Yes, I was going to note that I've not seen any letters, any other emails from anyone else regarding this matter. And those were not considered when we did the settlement agreements. I'm not sure if that's appropriate that those be considered at this time as part of this hearing. I guess that's up to Mr. Kaler to make that determination for sure, but that is not something I'm aware of or have looked at.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Easton. This time, Eugene Joyce, you have your hand up.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I just want to make a comment that, Mr. Easton said one of the intentions of all this was to save the commission time. And I think that's the worst possible motive for any of this. I think that this is a matter that really bears a full discussion with the commission, a full playing out a review of all the facts of what has happened here. And I think it was hastily called. I think that you mentioned Britta Taylor, that's Josh Taylor's wife. I think that they deserve to have a voice in any of this, any settlement. They are the victims in this, and they've been harmed. She went to the hospital. She had a broken arm over this incident. And so I urge the commission either to table all of this or to vote it down and go through the normal commission hearing process as laid out in the rules of the Gaming Commission.
Thank you, Eugene. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Kaufman, whoop.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just for the benefit of the commission, I just want to say, Matt Kaufman, on behalf of 307 Horse Racing. Obviously, we do not represent either of these individual gentlemen that are before you today for disciplinary purposes. But I just wanted to say on the record that I wanted to lodge a little bit of an objection to what Mr. Joyce is suggesting to the extent that he's testifying to you all today with respect to what occurred. Mr. Joyce was not there. The process that the commission is going through with respect to allowing a fact finding to occur and then considering the facts have been presented to it and taking action through a settlement is not out of the ordinary for regulatory agencies to do. So I wanted to echo the comments that Mr. Easton made about the process and the fact that this process is not out of the ordinary. But I would urge the commission in today's proceeding to not be taking what would otherwise be hearsay testimony not permitted in a fact-finding hearing of any kind to persuade or influence the decision of the commission today. With that, we'll leave the commission to make your decision and proceed as you wish, but I just felt it important to put that on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Are there any further discussion?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Kaler.
And thank you, Commissioner Cavello, for passing that along. I have had a chance to review the email from Britta Taylor. It looks like was sent to a host of folks, commissioners. It looks like sent to the governor as well. And it seems to me that this. If the question is, can this email be discussed? I think certainly, given that it comes from Mr. Taylor and kind of, I suppose, is his, I don't know, for lack of a better term, 2 cents or his thoughts on the matter and whether or not the commission should accept or reject the settlement agreements. I think it would be appropriate to discuss that. I don't know if Mr. Taylor is on the call right now. If so, certainly he can weigh in on his thoughts. But I think I don't think there's any issue if the commission wants to discuss or review this letter or this email.
Thank you, Mr. Kaler. At this time, is there any further discussion? Vice President Burchard?
I'm troubled. I think my worry is, we in the past, the few things I were involved with, we heard both sides of the story. We had testimony from people, and then we got the gist of the story and what exactly happened, and we made a decision. Right now, I feel like I haven't, I've been waiting for information, and I expected that either Nick or Mr. Kaler would explain all of the ramifications, the criminal part of it, and I just feel like we're setting a precedence that future commissions will have to deal with, to be honest. Sorry, that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy, or Commissioner Burchard. I see we have another hand up, Mr. White.
Thank you, President. Just the email thing, it seems like most everybody on this call has seen it. I don't know about the email. I don't know if Mr. Easton has seen or knows about the email. Certainly the settlement agreements were not prepared in anticipation of the communication. And so without knowing the language and the context of the email, my guess is the same gist came through the criminal case of Gage, and that it probably doesn't contain any new information. Maybe some personal feelings, obviously, is my guess, but ultimately I'm going to go with that email. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but doesn't affect the underlying agreements and what was considered by the Greers, Mr. Easton, and Director Moore. So I again recommend that the board, that the commission, approve as submitted. That's my piece. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there, Commissioner Rick Holler? Are you muted? Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, President Davis. being new to the commission, I talked to Charlie this morning. It's already been through criminal court. Am I correct? So we're not really here to decide the criminal end of anything. That's already been done by Uintah County. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So basically what we need to do is just live by what our rules are, knowing what we know from the, we can have our own hearing, but are we retrying the case, or are we just talking about how it works with the horse racing and our rules and regulations? And that's what I'd like to know, but I'm new. I don't know if it's ever happened before, what kind of suspensions you get for whatever happens. But as far as retrying the case, I think that's already been done. It sounds like it's already been settled at the court level, if I'm correct.
Commissioner Cavello.
President Davis, I was wondering if it would be possible at this time, if we could have Assistant Attorney General Kaler give us a brief synopsis of the case, how it was adjudicated, and stuff like that, in case everyone's not totally up to speed. It was quite lengthy as far as reading it all. I read it several times, and I think a lot of it's kind of been settled, but maybe a good synopsis to kind of refresh us would be handy at this point.
Mr. Kaler, can you give us a general oversight of the 77 pages?
Yes, Mr. President, Commissioner Cabello, certainly, and let me pull up this packet here, but generally, after the incident took place, there was an extensive criminal investigation by the Uintah County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department. They essentially kind of took a plea deal on it and did not go forward to trial, from what I understand. The commission staff and Mr. Easton kind of waited to let this play out to see exactly what happened on a criminal level. As far as the details of the allegations and the details of the incident, certainly perhaps Mr. Laramendi could go through those as far as what is alleged by each of the witnesses. I know that is in your packet, the details of what all the witnesses had to say about the assault that took place. I'm not prepared to give a synopsis of all 77 pages just at this point, but basically took a plea deal, and so it's final from a criminal standpoint. And now, as commonly happens, after that has run its course, then the commission takes all of that information in the packet that Charlie and his folks put together and decides whether or not, based upon the evidence that we have before us today, whether or not a settlement agreement is appropriate and the terms of that settlement agreement.
Okay, did that answer your, Commissioner Cavello, your question? Okay, so basically what we're looking here at is what the commission recommendation to the commissioners is. Is that not correct?
That's correct, Mr. President. So based upon the proposed settlement agreement, at least we're talking one specifically right now, and then we'll get to the next one as well. But as far as this specific plea agreement or settlement agreement with Gage Greer, there's a proposed 3-year suspension, $3,000 fine. And so the question is, does the commission want to accept it based upon the discussion here today and based upon the packet that was sent to the commission in advance of this meeting? And if there are any other questions as to the specifics of what was alleged or what was uncovered in the commission investigation, which may include some of the details from the criminal investigation, then perhaps Charlie or Nick or their staff may be able to address the specific questions as to the actions that took place.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further questions?
President Davis, if I may.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yes, thank you. To kind of walk this back just a little bit to clarify. First and foremost, we have already provided you all with all of the information that was provided to us and has been provided to us, excluding the final corrected settlement agreements, which you received in a separate email prior to the meeting today. Additionally, in your packet that went out to you yesterday via email, there was also included in there a letter from Greer's attorney that was addressed to you all that is in that packet. As far as the email that we've been discussing this morning, if that had been submitted via the proper procedures that we have sent to this office, no one in this office that I'm aware of, Mr. Laramendi or myself, has received it. We did check the WPMC site email this morning prior to the meeting, where we asked people to send public comments for meetings into, and there's nothing in that at all. So this office has not had an opportunity to view the email that you're speaking of, commissioners. If that had been received, you would have had that included this morning as public comment with your packets. So it's very clear how to submit things, and we make it very easy. If you send it to the office, we'll get it in there. We'll furnish those to the public. As far as the process goes, this is very similar. If you recall, I believe at our November meeting, we did have a settlement agreement that was proposed to us. And it's a fairly simple, either we accept the proposals today or we continue with the process, which would be going to the administrative hearings office and allow them to hear the case, similar to what we did several years ago with the hazing instance and other instances that we have. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. And with that, Commissioner Ritthaler.
Yes, getting back to my question. So in our rules and regulations, do we have a hearing, or is this customary not to have the hearing? I guess that's where I'm going with my question.
Mr. President, Commissioner Ritthaler, it's up to the commission. Certainly, as Mr. Easton stated, boards and commissions in Wyoming have the opportunity, once a matter is referred to the commission, to either to review the case, to propose a settlement if appropriate. If not, then certainly there is the option to go through the administrative prosecution phase and set it for hearing. It's not uncommon to handle it this way. Certainly, if the commission does not feel that it's appropriate, you could set a hearing. Or if you feel it's appropriate, to settle the matter, then certainly you can approve the settlement.
Okay, with that, Commissioner Pacheco, you have your.
Yeah, Mr. President, the flavor of this email that was sent this morning feels like they just want to be heard, and they want to voice their concern to the commission. But it also says that there was no payment made, but I'm looking at restitution of over $5,000, it looks like, on the judgment and sentence. So I'm leaning towards, if we could table this, we could at least give them a voice and we could all review the email and have that information to make it, ensure that the entire commission is fully educated on this. Thank you.
I understand your position, our Commissioner Pacheco, but I have to reiterate Director Moore's position that in light of this email, it did not go through the proper channels and should not probably, actually have any bearing on what we're discussing here right now.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
President Davis, just to follow up on that just briefly, I do appreciate hearing about it. I wish I'd seen the email prior to this meeting. We could have had this all squared away, and we could have provided that to the Greers as well and their folks on this and done this. So apologies here on this end, but we did not receive it.
Okay. With that, Charlie, we have a motion on the floor for item, I'm going to call it, what is it, 2B?
I'm sorry, it's item 3A.
3A,
Yes,
which has to do with Gage Greer.
correct.
Is there any further discussion? At this time, seeing no more hands or anything, can we have a roll call vote, please, Charlie?
Yes, thank you. Jenny Wild.
Mr. President, could you restate the motion?
Charlie, do you have that captured, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you. President Davis, Commissioner Barry, the motion is to approve the settlement agreement provided to the commission, and that is number 21-005. We had a second. The motion was made by Commissioner Covello, and the second was by Commissioner Curran.
Any further questions? Then roll call vote, please, Charlie.
Yes, thank you. Tribal Liaison, Commissioner Wildcat. She is not in attendance. Law Enforcement Appointee, Commissioner Pacheco.
Yay.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Curra.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ridholler.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Covello.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Broussard.
I vote no.
No. And President Davis.
I vote yes.
Motion carries, commissioners. Moving on to item 3B, consideration of settlement agreement for Randy Greer, docket number 21006.
So at this time, I would be looking for a motion. Is that correct?
Unless Mr. Easton wants to present it.
Mr. Easton, would you like to present this one again?
I think I've pretty much discussed it to death. I don't think I can
Okay.
add anything at this point. Thank you.
All right. So at this time, I would be looking for a motion. This would have to do with Randy Greer.
President Davis, Commissioner Curra, I so move. We accept it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Commissioner
Thank
Daigle.
you, Commissioner Daigle. Discussion. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Go ahead, Commissioner Barry.
due to Randy Greer's position as a racetrack owner and operator, I'm inclined to request a full hearing in this case. I just don't feel that we can make an adequate decision at this time. At least I can't. I'd like to hear the testimony of all the involved parties face to face.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Barry. Further discussion. Commissioner Pacheco.
Mr. President, in looking at this, I see, I cannot vote for this, in favor of it. I feel like if nothing more, he's a party before the fact to the case. And I would think it would be at least a minimum of as what which Gage received, at a minimum, unless we go through with another hearing. But I would recommend that he get the same disciplinary action that Mr. Gage, or sanction that Mr. Gage is getting, or Gage is getting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cavello, you had your hand up too.
President Davis, I was just gonna, I guess, basically air the same concern I have as Commissioner Pacheco and Commissioner Barry. I think it's I think his part in this is a little bit more egregious than we're actually looking to settle at this point, and I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cavello. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Rittal.
Thank you, President Davis. So do we have the right to change this, or do we need to go to an administrative hearing if we do not accept this? I heard Mr. Moore say that if we didn't, we had two things, either accept it or go to administrative hearing. Am I correct there?
Mr. Easton?
Chairman Davis, that is correct. The commission doesn't have the authority to, or the ability to change the agreement at this point. So it would have to, you'd have to reject, you either have to accept the settlement as proposed, or reject it, and then we would go ahead and set up an OAH hearing on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Easton. Are there any further questions at this time? Seeing no further hands. Charlie, can we have a Commissioner Cavello?
No.
Okay. Charlie, can we have a roll call vote? Could you restate?
Any comments from the public?
I don't see any hands up anywhere.
I don't see it either. Nick, do we have anything?
President Davis, Director Moore, there is no hands up.
Thank you.
President Davis, could we restate the motion, please?
Please, Charlie.
Motion is item number 3B, a motion to accept the settlement agreement for Randy Greer, docket number 21006.
Okay, with that, Charlie, can we proceed with the roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Tribal Appointment Commissioner Wildcat is absent. Law Enforcement Appointment Commissioner Pacheco.
No.
That is a no. Thank you. Commissioner Curra.
No.
That is a no. Commissioner Rithaller.
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
No.
That is a no. Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
No.
Commissioner Daigle was a no. Commissioner Cavello.
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Broussard. Is that a no? I got it. Thank you.
That was a no.
And President Davis.
No.
That motion does not carry.
Okay, so our next, how do we proceed from here? Mr.
Go to
Kaler?
the next page. Basically, you can adjourn. We don't need an executive session, which was item 4. Our next meeting dates, August 23rd, 2022. That will be here in Casper, Wyoming on Tuesday at the state office building. We have also a meeting scheduled for September 22nd, which is a Thursday, again here in Casper at the state office building. And then our November fall meeting is set for 2 days, a Wednesday and a Thursday, the 16th and the 17th. That is our annual fall meeting. It is scheduled for the state office building. However, we may do the meeting on the 16th at another location as a roundtable event, getting all of the stakeholders together and having some open discussions. So that is the schedule moving forward, commissioners, and we can take your pleasure.
At this time, Charlie, could you or Mike please advise us how our next step is here now with the hearing? Or Mr. Easton or whoever?
Mr. President, this is Mike. Now that the proposed agreement, on the second one was rejected, I'll work with Charlie and staff, and presumably we'll proceed down the administrative route, give everybody a notice, and set a hearing.
Okay, thank you. With that, if there's no further questions, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
You, bye.
Thank you.